You spent your first 8 years with the Blackhawks. You went to Phoenix for 5, and I want to jump back to Phoenix a little later when you moved out west and about the whole western expansion of the league. But I want to go to your 3 years in Philadelphia and the time you spent playing for Bobby Clarke, because, again, Bobby Clarke was a hero of mine growing up. Didn't like him much, but he was, you have to admire his skill. And just speak to the passion of the Philadelphia Flyer fan and compare it to the Blackhawk fan, because there are some similarities, but Philly has got a little more of an edge to them, don't they?
Very similar, but very different. Philly fans, and the way I've categorized it, are blue-collar, passionate, without any kind of fear of what they look like or what they sound like. They will come at you, and if you don't give an honest effort, if you don't put your heart and your soul into what you're doing and playing, and you don't go out there and you work and grind, they're going to boo you right out of the city. The media is tough. They are passionate about their sports, whether they're winning or losing. You know, when I first got there, I didn't understand it so much. They said they would boo Santa Claus. Well, I found out really quick that was true. But the question was to me was, are you nervous to go into Philly with the fans and how rowdy they are? I'm like, why would I be scared to go into a town where the fans were just like me, blue collar, work hard, passionate, you know, wear my heart in my sleeve, go out there, throw my body around. I'd like to say that I really put everything I could possibly have into every game, and effort-wise. And Philly fans and I, we connected, we bonded, and still today, everywhere I go, there's a Philly fan that says thank you, and I can't thank them enough.
He doesn't say in that calm a voice, though. He does. He says, thank you.
You're awesome. We love you,
Bobby Clarke. Give me about 30 seconds on Bobby Clarke. What was it like to meet
Bobby Clarke is a wonderful man. He's a hard-nosed guy. He'll tell you like it is, no problem. He would look at you and say, here we go, and I always go like this. I go, JR, you're just not good enough right now. You're just not good. Yeah, you gotta get going. You really gotta get better. You're not good enough right now. Philly needs more from you. And he was scary. He was scary. He was hard-nosed. One Halloween, I dressed up as Bobby Clarke. I don't know if you ever have footage of it, but I put a yellow wig on. I wore the 16 Clarke in the back. I wore his actual Cooperalls that he wore back in the 70s, and I couldn't wear them with any gear on under. I had to. I don't know if my prominent seat was too big for it, but I actually could fit into his Cooperalls. Barely fit into his Cooperalls with my regular pants. I went on the warm-ups, I skated around, and I saw Bobby Clarke laugh harder when I walked on the ice dressed up as him than I've ever seen him, and it was a true pleasure to try to imitate him.
There's one guy you need to take a face-off in NHL history. You want it to be Bobby Clarke, though. A lot to get to. We're just getting started. JR is going to give us about 30 or 40 minutes, so a lot to get to with Jeremy Roenick as we continue on Chronicle Live, presented by Autotrader.com. A career that spanned 3 decades and included over 500 goals. Only the third American born to achieve that feat. But now the next chapter begins for Jeremy Roenick. More with the future Hall of Famer when Chronicle Live returns. All right, welcome back to Chronicle Live. Greg Papa rejoined by Mark Purdy, Ross McEwen, and the man of the hour, I should say, being honored today, Jeremy Roenick. We were talking about your career, growing up in Boston, obviously, and playing for the Blackhawks and the Flyers and those hotbeds of American hockey, but then moving out west, starting with Phoenix and the franchise, moving from Winnipeg, and then obviously playing for L.A. and playing for the Sharks. Tell me about teaching this great game, which is pretty localized. It's mainly a northeastern game, to the folks out west. How difficult was that for you, and how much did you have to reach out to the fan base to get them on board with the sport?
Oh, it was busy. I went out there in '96. I got traded there, and the team had just moved from Winnipeg down to Arizona. So now we had the burden of trying to sell a winter sport in a summer climate, which obviously we had a lot of snowbirds that came down. We call them snowbirds that came down and lived in Arizona during the winter. But there was a lot of people who didn't understand the game, and it was up to myself and Keith Tkachuk and a lot of us to really go out there and teach them what offsides were and what icing were. And you know, people were watching and they loved the fights. They cheered more for the fights than they did the goals. So it was difficult. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of going out in the public. It was doing a lot of speaking stuff with schools, with going to retirement homes and telling people what hockey's all about. It was actually a really good transition for me. I got to, you know, I got to see people in a different light and educate people on why hockey is a great sport, and it's not brutal. Really, it's a beautiful sport. It's a graceful sport, and it took off really well. We sold out the America West Arena. We had the Sea of White during the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was a really good hockey atmosphere that we built there early in the Phoenix days.
I really believe when the history of hockey is written about the whole moving west and the expansion teams of the West, obviously, I'm going way out on a limb here. Wayne Gretzky was a better player than you.
Absolutely.
But, and everybody says...
I was tougher, though.
I didn't say that. But, you know, and Wayne Gretzky is why hockey got big initially in the West, because, you know, he'd play there.
Right.
But this guy came and he explained the game, and he got people passionate about the game. He could elucidate what hockey was about. Wayne, for all of his skills, great guy, but is not able to bring to the table the kind of personality that Jeremy did that could get people, oh, this guy's interesting. You know, Wayne's, wow, he is great, but, you know, this guy's really interesting, and he is good. I mean, that's my feel. How do you think, Ross?
Yeah, well, and the other thing I think that's interesting too, Jeremy, is that you played in hockey hotbeds, Chicago, Philadelphia, big U.S. markets, and then you settled really in the West, though. I mean, you saw something out here too. You played in Arizona a while, settled there, Los Angeles, San Jose. So my question to you is, you know, not only were you selling the game to the West, but the West obviously made an impression on you.
Yeah, I think I'm so much of a people person. I really love people. One of the best parts of my job of being a professional athlete is meeting different people. You know, my interaction on the streets, signing autographs, meeting kids. And I found the more I moved west, whether it was from Boston to Chicago, Phoenix, even now here in San Jose, I really found that the people, the quality of people, it grew, and their honesty and their approach to life. I just felt really comfortable here. My family, like I said, we moved into Arizona, and it's like we were welcomed with open arms. And how can you not like being around an atmosphere like that? I just felt really comfortable. And to tell you the truth, I won't move back east. I'll stay out west forever. Make my home somewhere out here, because the way of life is really, really good, and that's because of the people that are out here.
How do you think it changed you as a player, playing for people who are not as passionate about your sport and about sports in general? I mean, obviously, when you were a Flyer and you had a bad game, you probably heard about it the next day waiting at a stoplight.
Oh, yeah.
Roenick, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
But here, or in L.A. or Phoenix, you're not going to get that. Did it affect you at all as a player? Did it make you more laid back as a player? Did it make you more relaxed, and consequently you perform better? How did it impact you?
You know, you can let your guard down a little bit more. I had the ability. I know if I had a bad game, it wasn't going to be in every paper from New York down to Philly. In Chicago, there's 2 different papers that you had to deal with, 5 different writers that you knew that, you know, JR was terrible last night. That's one of the reasons. No, we come out here and people are more respectful. Their media is more respectful, and, you know, to tell you the truth, they just love the game. They're not out there to brutalize you because you played bad. They want to see you win, but there's a little bit more respect.
Is it easier to play in that environment?
Absolutely, for sure.
So your talent can just flow because you're not worried as much?
Your talent could flow, sure, but as an athlete, if you're competitive and you're passionate, you're going to want to do well every single game, so you're hard on yourself. I was always hard on myself, so if I didn't play well, I was going to come up and say, hey, listen, I have to be better. That's unacceptable to me, and I didn't have to wait for the media or the fans to do it. I did it myself.